Valour Morgarath knelt before the shrine he had built with his own hands. It stood deep within the citadel, where torchlight faltered and stone remembered every oath ever spoken within its walls. Upon the black slab lay a single preserved bloom, pale petals veined with crimson, fragile and unyielding, a night orchid of Shabanu, Rehab's flower. Time did not touch it, nor did grief lessen its weight. And so, Valour knelt, as he often did, and let memory take him, back to when the world had not yet learned how to break. There was a time when mercy walked freely through Shabathar, not as a distant god, nor as a whispered prayer, but as a presence among the living. She moved through sunlit streets and temple courts, her feet touching stone and soil alike, shaping faith with quiet certainty. Under her guidance, an order was forged, not from noble blood or inherited power, but from the strongest souls the realm could offer. They became the Dark Monks. They were trained where breath burned in the lungs and frost split the skin. They were stripped of comfort, of fear, of name. They sweated blood and tears until only resolve remained. They knelt to Eliandor, god of creation, and mercy was their master. Valor had been one among many then, a soldier, nothing more. He had not yet learned how much the world could take. Then war came to Shabathar, and with it came Princess Rehaab Shabanu. She arrived not in silk, not beneath banners, or guarded by ceremony, but armored and unbowed, her dark hair bound for battle. Mercy forbade her presence. Royal blood, she declared, was not meant to be spilled in the mud of war. Rehab's anger burned hotter than fear. Valor spoke to her first, not as a warrior, but as a man, offering what little condolence he could to a woman watching her homeland fall. She answered him sharply, grief and fury entwined, her words cutting deeper than steel. So he challenged her. Steel rang beneath a sky already darkened by smoke. She moved with a speed that startled him, precise, relentless, untamed. He fought to subdue her, to prove a point, and when he finally pinned her to the ground, her anger broke into tears. He loosened his grip. In an instant, she reversed him, blade pressed to his throat. She smiled. From her belt, she removed a single flower and placed it upon his chest. A reminder, she said, not to underestimate what blooms in shadow. That was the first night orchid he ever held, and Valor knew she was unlike anything the world had made before. For 3 days and 3 nights, the Dark Monks held the line. They fought through streets turned to ash and courtyards choked with smoke. Stone shattered beneath siege and spell alike. One by one, Valor watched his commanders fall, men and women who had trained him, broken him, hardened him. When the last of them only necessity, Valor became Vaigar. The air itself recoiled. Fire remained of the monks, and the war ended not with victory, but with annihilation. Mercy's voice reached Valor's mind, calm and terrible in its certainty. Retreat. Shabathar is lost. The king and queen were already dead, infiltrated, silenced, erased. Valor asked only one thing. Rehaab. Mercy told him she had ordered the princess to take Delphina and flee to the Forest of Souls, to the citadel of the Dark Monks. Valor gathered what remained of his order and obeyed. The night Rehaab arrived, the storm screamed like a wounded beast. The horns sounded, strangers at the gate. As the drawbridge lowered, Valor saw Delphina first, upright but exhausted, rain plastering her hair to her face. Behind her rode a dozen of Rehab's men, battered but alive, and at the rear, Rehab. She dismounted and collapsed, wounded but unbroken. Blood darkened her armor. Valor lifted her without hesitation and carried her to the infirmary, where torchlight trembled against stone. When she woke, he placed the flower she had once given him beside her bed. She smiled. From that night on, she trained with the dark monks, not to fight, but to dance. She taught them to move as water moves, to strike as wind strikes. She was swift as a cheetah, fierce as a lion, and graceful as a swan upon still water. Steel followed her will, not her rage. The monks learned that battle was rhythm, not brutality, and in that quiet transformation, love found them. When doubt weighed on her, she would say, "You are my star upon dark waters. When I lose the shore, I follow your light." No one else knew those words. They belonged only to them. Then Delphina's vision came. She saw Eleandor, and when she returned, she was blind. Mercy feared what Delphina had become, yet loved her still, knowing the power awakening within her reached beyond even her own. Pilgrims came from every land, seeking healing, prophecy, or absolution. The citadel changed, stone softened by faith and need, and Rehaab filled it with life. She brought color where there had been only shadow. Orchids climbing cold walls, blooms breaking stone. She ensured sustenance for all. Blood given willingly by mortals she sheltered and protected. Their lives enriched, never diminished. Care became law, compassion became strength. The dark monks ceased to be servants. They became guardians. Thandros' vein came to shadow. Rehaab met his forces alone and broke them utterly. And when victory seemed certain, his poisoned spear struck her back. She fell. Valor reached her too late. He begged mercy. He begged Delphina. Delphina called to Eleandor himself, channeling the god of creation for the first time. There was no answer, but the god heard. Valor knelt once more before the shrine. The night orchid lay untouched. Rehab's presence lingered in every stone, every bloom, every vow spoken within the citadel's walls. Her loss was not a wound that healed. It was a weight the world would forever bear. "When I defeat him," Valor whispered into the silence, "bring her back." The world did not answer, but fate listened, and somewhere beyond time, Eleandor remembered.